The latest arc of the main Star Wars comic by Kieran Gillen was Mutiny on Mon Cala. Considering we're about to start exploring the time leading up to the Rebels establishing a base on Hoth, I think the story takes place near the tail end of the 3-year gap between episodes 4 and 5 and tells us how the Mon Calamari Navy officially joined the Rebel Alliance. I'll be summarizing and reviewing the events of the past 6 issues, so if you're wary of spoilers, this is your warning. Admiral Ackbar, Leia, Luke, and Han set up a meeting with the Regent Ertia of Mon Cala to try to convince him to join the fight against the Empire. We learned that King Lee Char has been in Imperial prison for the last 20 years or so, leaving his people to live under Imperial occupation. While Ertia agrees that the fleet could help the fight, the people left behind would suffer greatly at the hands of the Empire, so he decides not to join the alliance. Desperate for the Mon Cala Navy, the rebels develop a new plan. They decide to break Lee Char out of Imperial custody so he can rally his people. They hire a Clawdite changeling to help kidnap the Moff of the sector and impersonate him during an opera. The rebels take the Moff to the Imperial prison/water world of Strokill Prime and use him to get past security. When they finally arrive at Lee Char's cell, they learn that he's been kept alive on life support for 20 years and he is unable to leave. He records a message for his people before stormtroopers get to his cell and shoot him. Leia and her team escape and return to Mon Cala, but their message is apprehended by Ertia, who forces them to leave. They are disheartened until the Regent transmits Lee Char's message to the entire Navy, which is also under Imperial occupation. They're roused by their king's dying words and angered by his murder, so they take over all the ships. The Empire sends Star Destroyers to put down the uprising, but the Rebel Alliance offers their support in response. Ertia's location is bombarded and destroyed, killing the man. The rebels and the Mon Calamari are able to blow a hole in the Imperial blockade using a payload of coaxium, and the fleet escapes. Months later, Leia meets with the Imperial mole Queen Trios. They exchange a few words, Leia leaves, and we learn that Trios never truly defected from the Empire. Overall, this was a really solid arc, especially the last couple issues. I liked the Mission Impossible kind of kidnapping/rescue mission with the disguises and all, even though it could get a little silly at times. What I loved were its thematic connections with other Star Wars media. Most obviously, we have a continuation of King Lee Char's story from the Clone Wars, but this comic also ran parallel to the Darth Vader comic, which told us how Mon Cala fell under Imperial occupation in the first place, including Lee Char's imprisonment. I think the timing of showing us how a story began and then ended 20 years later is phenomenal. I also really appreciated Leia and her scenes with the Regent Ertia. He asks Leia if she knew what would have happened to Alderaan, would she still have rebelled, and I think that very neatly fits in with the events told in Leia, Princess of Alderaan, where she asks her parents a very similar question. Is it right to rebel at the potential danger of the Alderaanian people? Ultimately, Leia winds up believing that the answer is yes, and so does Ertia. He says it would be worth the sacrifice if it helped save the galaxy, and Leia promises that his actions will count. Of course, we all know how instrumental the Mon Calamari fleet will become in the Rebel Alliance. And just to pause there for a second, it's set up through the early issues of this arc that Ackbar and Raddus were seen as radicals. Not every member of their species felt inspired to run off and join the fight, so even though ships like the Profundity and Rogue One were helping the rebels, the entire fleet had yet to join. Finally, the revelation that Queen Trios is still in league with the Empire was thrilling to me. I liked her defection to the rebellion and I totally bought it. But now that we know it wasn't genuine, and knowing how she acted in the Darth Vader comic, I buy that too. I think it's still possible she could wind up helping the rebels in the end, but what I love is that it could easily go either way. I think we'll see her put in a position to make a devastating choice for one faction or the other, and we'll see where her loyalties truly lie. I'm kinda leaning towards her staying with the Empire because I like her as a foil to Leia. She was forced into Imperial service after threat of the destruction of her world in the first place, so it's interesting to see a planetary leader similar to Leia going in a different direction. But that's it for the Mutiny on Mon Cala. Whether you read it or not, I'd love to hear what you thought of the story, so let me know in the comments. The Darth Vader arc about Mon Cala, called Burning Seas, is just finishing up, so I'll cover it very soon. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.